The film department is supported by UNLV Film. At the film department of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, every story has a beginning. With degree programs for undergraduates and graduates, state-of-the-art equipment and facilities, incredible professional internships around the world, and expert guest speakers, students discover the power and potential of cinema as they prepare for the film and television industry and beyond. Learn more at unlv.edu/film. UNLV Film. Find your voice, tell your story.
Hello and welcome to the Film Department, the official movie review podcast of UNLV Film. My name is Matthew Trudeau, and with me is...
Hi, I'm Lex.
And I'm Robby.
And today we're very lucky to be talking to Mike Plante from the Beverly Theater and the Sundance Film Festival. He's here to discuss what you should do when you finish your short film. But before we get into that, Mike, just want to say appreciate you coming in, and we want to get to know you. Tell us about yourself.
For sure. Thanks for having me. I've been doing film stuff for a long time. I was in college in the early 90s, and I was taking film classes, and one of the classes I took, you had to work for a local film festival and a movie theater. So I basically have been working in movie theaters and video stores and film festivals since 1993. So I'm a millionaire working for nonprofits. So, but it's been fun. It's been really rewarding. I make some stuff on my own. And then I worked at the Sundance Film Festival as a short film programmer and helping out on other sections from 2001 until this year. Now I'm a consultant there, and my main job is helping run the Beverly Theater here in Las Vegas.
That sounds fun. Where'd you go to school, if you don't mind me asking?
The University of Arizona, because I lived in Tucson, which is a great town, and it was pretty fun. I actually liked it because it was a smaller town and a smaller department, and so there was less pressure. Everybody got to use the equipment. It was just, instead of having a lot of intensity at some big school, which I didn't even try to go to a big school. It was just like, I live here, and I lived there at the time, and I thought it'd be great to just stay there. And it was good for me. I actually liked it quite a bit.
I grew up in Phoenix, and so the constant rivalry between ASU and U of A was apparent, and ASU is huge in comparison from what I understand.
Yeah.
Physically? Yeah, maybe. Both of these schools changed over the years, too. I went a long time ago. And the film department at ASU got bigger. U of A stayed pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're both good because they're off the coast.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of amazing schools on both coasts, up and down both coasts. But, if you can fit in, wherever you fit in is where you should go. Just having a place where you have more access to the teachers is great. Sometimes, there's some schools that do it right, and some schools, they have a lot of students. It's a little tougher, but, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right
Access to teachers and, communication is very important, especially in the film world. So I kind of wanted to ask, in the same vein, how did your involvement with Sundance, really, where did that start? And also with Beverly Theater, if you don't mind touching on that too.
Yeah, well, I had been working for the Arizona International Film Festival for almost 10 years, and I got a gig as a projectionist for the Telluride Film Festival. There were some connections from Tucson. Some people also worked it or something. And a lot of people were aging out or retiring. And so I just got lucky where there was a bunch of positions open. And I had projected 35 millimeter and 60 millimeter at these two theaters I worked at. So I got in. And then from there, I met some people that also work Sundance. A lot of people work a lot of these jobs are year round. They're seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
So some people worked at Sundance. And at the time, I had a film zine, a film magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually did.
Awesome.
I printed up, so I did most of the interviews. Some other people wrote some stuff for me, I think. Yeah, some other people did stuff. And I did this slightly better. It started as Xerox. It got slightly better. It's sort of a color cover now. But this is like the late 90s, where you could still kind of get distribution. So between that and being a projectionist, I got a job at Sundance
Mm-hmm.
because I could talk to filmmakers. So I would talk to the filmmakers and talk about projection and help them not finish their film, but help them prepare for going to a festival. And so I was the only dummy they knew who would even want this job because it's like kind of high stress. And since I had projection and this weird background, that got me a job at Sundance. And, and also the propensity by that time, since I had been working for a decade, I had this skill where I could watch 1,000 short films and not burn out and
Yeah.
not mind that you do it for very little money.
That is a useful skill.
I had all those things, And then, but right at the same time, there was actually a film festival that was happening in Las Vegas called Cinevegas.
Mm-hmm.
And they had gone through a few different people running it, and they came to Sundance looking for people to help work it. And we happened to be, even if you programmed at the time at Sundance, it was like a 7-month job. Then the other part of the year, we actually worked at Cinevegas, and we started doing that in 2002. My friend Trevor Groth. And so that's when my connection to Vegas started in a good way, because I would come here for like a month or 6 weeks, and it was great. And then I left, before I got really bad at gambling.
Yeah.
And is that how you got connected to the Beverly as well, just in that time frame?
Yeah, it was friends of Cinevegas people, and Beverly Rogers, who runs the Rogers Foundation, also is like, I guess, landlord for the Writer's Block bookstore, which is this incredible store that's here. It's like packed.
Yes. Oh, I love going there.
I go in there to try to hang out and talk to the employees, and I kept getting interrupted. And I was like, they're selling books. My God, that's great. I should get out of their way and stop annoying them. And then right next to the bookstore is the Beverly Theater that Beverly built. And it's just 2.5 years old. And again, I was the only idiot they knew who knew how to book movies. So it all kind of worked out. But my connection with Vegas and just like, it just happened to be good timing where I was looking to leave LA. So I got very lucky that this kind of worked out too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, so you're at Sundance now, and that's the main thing we're here to talk about. We'd love to know,
Sure.
how does one go about submitting a short film to Sundance? And I want to hear how that process has changed throughout the years.
Oddly, it hasn't changed one single bit,
No.
other than there's a lot more shorts. But you send in a short, and it used to be without a box. Now it's Film Freeway. We would watch the film. And if one of us, the programmers, liked it, then you show it to the other programmers. And then at the end of the process, after you watch all the submissions, you make mixtapes. You make these programs, and then there's a lot of aspects to how you pick a film, but it's pretty obvious. Like, all right, is a film great? Okay, we'll find a way to show it. And you get through all those films. And then, okay, what are the good films that have something wrong with them, but it'd be great to show them, whether it's supporting talent or it's got something like it's a funny comedy with, really basic production value. That's fine. It's actually funny. So can we find a spot for that?
Mhm.
We like this film, but it's probably like 3 minutes too long, but it's still pretty good. Do we have a spot for that? So you go through these sort of esoteric questions. But really, when you make a program, like, okay, what certain types of films can be the first thing you see when you watch a program? Something that's entertaining, but not so long or so heavy that you feel like you're about to watch a feature. It's kind of got to have something to it that gets you going fast and then doesn't last too long, and it's satisfying. Okay, so then that film is there. Okay, what's another film that's nothing like that film?
Mm-hmm.
That should go after it. So it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. And then the next film, all right, we've watched 2 films that are pretty serious for 20 minutes now. Where's a 7-minute comedy to sort of take you out of that? Now, okay, you're laughing quite a bit now. Maybe there's a short documentary that you can put after that. And then you just keep going through this, until we'd like to stick around 90 minutes. And the film at the end is probably the kind of big film. Sometimes that means it has a lot of story. Sometimes that means it has bigger production value. Sometimes that means it's just really like a kind of film that I don't know what's going to follow that. It's a really good thing to have people walk out the door on.
Yeah, leave them wanting
Yeah.
more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then you also talk about like, okay, how do we want them to feel? If that film is so heavy, then the rest of the program shouldn't be so heavy.
Right.
Because then you're going to do 5 comedies in a row. Like, well, was the third one funny? I don't know anymore because it's just boom, boom. It's too
Right.
much of one thing. And, you hopefully, we're lucky at Sundance because you get 12,000 films submitted. At smaller festivals I worked at, it's actually pretty hard where you don't get that many submissions. So you have to go find films from other festivals because you just, people didn't think about you, or people are only going for the biggest festivals. And, I worked for the Provincetown Film Festival for a while. And it's a great town and a great fest, but a few hundred shorts, I think, got sent in, and we'd show some of them, but then you got to fill out the program. So in 2002, when I started doing shorts, we did the same thing. It got easier because it's not VHS tapes anymore. That was a drag.
Yeah.
You could argue how the films have changed over the years. That's more of a feature film thing, because for more or less, you don't need permission from anyone to go make a short film. Like, if you choose to do something that's going to cost a lot of money, that changes things. But you can always just be like, I've got these two friends who are stand-up comedians, and they're really funny, and they can do lines, and they can redo stuff over and over and over again. They're not bothered by a camera and lights. Go do something.
If you've got a camera and a story, nothing's stopping you.
Right. Just go for it.
Yeah. And more or
Now,
less,
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned VHS tapes and everything, and coming from that generation, I know how big and bulky those things are. How often would you get submissions that, the tape got cracked or the film inside got warped or something? Like, was that a normal thing?
No, it didn't happen too much, and we just emailed 2002. Yeah, we had email. We email somebody and be like, "Hey, your tape broke. Send us a new tape." And
Okay.
they usually would. It was kind of that easy. DVD was coming pretty fast. I remember we had to rebuild all of our shelves from holding thousands of VHS tapes. But this stuff's all pretty simple. And then
did you just kind of progress into like VHS, DVD, then to like a USB, and then like digital submissions at that point?
it went for a while. I think we had both online and DVDs. Without a box, you could do either one. But that wave went pretty fast. It was why spend more money shipping and burning a DVD? And burn DVDs should work, and they won't. Stuff like that. But we always made sure. We got paid to watch movies, so we watched all of them. It wasn't that hard. That's one of the myths, is like, how could we watch those films? Just like, it's not hard. It's just, you take a long time. You take 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
Great gig.
Right.
Hey, man, if I can get paid to watch movies, I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good gig.
This is more like if you watch YouTube and you don't get to pick any of the links. So there's a lot of rough stuff out there. I got a wedding video one time, and I couldn't really believe it was a wedding video, so I kept watching the whole thing. And I was like, it was around that time of Dogma, so I was like, maybe they're just making it look real. And at the end, and then after I watched it, I read about it, like, no, they just sent me their wedding. Why'd you send me your wedding video?
Must have really liked
You get
it.
people. Yeah, you get people who want their kids to be actors, so they film their kids doing stuff, which is, we're not gonna. I don't support that, so we don't show
Have you
that
ever
stuff.
gotten
You have to
any
get through a lot of
accidental
that stuff.
submissions?
What do you mean?
You were just talking about, like, some people will send in videos of their kids or like this wedding video. Did you accidentally get, like, someone meant to send in this short film, but they accidentally send you a whole other tape that has nothing to do with what they meant?
No, because you'd fill out a form, so if there was ever a problem, we could figure it out.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that is a funny idea, though. That would be kind of like, hey, on occasion, people would send in multiple films, which is fine. It's putting, as it is in town, it's putting nickels into a slot machine, hoping something will hit,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
which doesn't help or hurt you. We're going to show a film that's good. And we're lucky. We get more good films than we could possibly show because we get so many.
So
Also a
on
good
that,
problem to have.
yeah. So on the opposite end of, the good short films, are there any like common mistakes that you guys see very often as far as like, those short films, and like, do you decline them for that specific? Like, what are the red flags, I guess I'm trying to ask, that you guys kind of take note of?
Yeah, it's the obvious stuff. It's bad acting. It's hard to get good
Yeah.
actors. You
Yeah.
can have a great script. Doesn't matter if your actors aren't good. And it's tough. And, it's a particularly American thing, because I think in other countries, the funding, there's obviously more funding. But also I think professional actors seem to be more willing to be in shorts in other countries than they do in America for whatever reason. But I also think if you get it together enough to have like even $50,000 in America, you probably go make a feature. You don't make a short.
Mhm.
So what we see are people who have no money not great acting, but then they choose to do something that amplifies that problem. So, like, if you don't have money, then you should not be picking stories that need helicopter shots and 20 people with dialogue. This isn't going to work. And if you have a little bit of money, you still kind of should do something small. And people always try to do something big, whether they want their short just to be impressive or they want to be making a feature. It's like, it's just why make this harder than it is? So we
Yeah.
see people overreach in a lot of ways. That's why I mentioned that thing about stand-up comedians. It's like most people know someone doing stand-up, they would love to be in your film. And they have a little bit, even if you're doing a serious film, not a comedy, they have these skills to like rework dialogue and timing because that's what they're doing on stage. And they could do things over and over and over again. And so maybe you can't get, or you just live somewhere. There's just not a lot of people who are actors, but there's always people who are comedians.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing with a lot of towns have good stage theater happening, and those folks usually will help you out too. But we usually see bad acting. We see people overreaching, and then we just see people just trying to do stuff, trying to emulate what's really popular. And it's like, I mean, nothing against that, but it's usually not as good as what you're inspired by. So, like, what's the easiest thing for you to do? Like, does your family own some sort of business that would be an incredible backdrop for a film? And it seems like to everybody else, they couldn't get that, a warehouse or a grocery store. Can you use a grocery store overnight?
Yeah.
That's kind of good production value. What could you do in there if it's
Yeah.
free for you,
Right.
So to be motivated that way is a little more interesting than thinking I'm going to blow everybody away with my short film,
Yeah.
but I'm going to choose to do these things I can't get the details for.
So it would be more so like use your resources rather than focus on what grand gesture you want to portray.
Yeah, for the most part. And of course, there's always I can think of the times that it worked the other way because there's not that many times. And unfortunately, it usually it's down to money. Like, wow, somebody really pulled off this big, huge short film. And for one reason or another, they had a lot of money, and most of us don't. So you got to do a balance, and like what kind of your camera work should come. I got a drone. Like, I don't need to use it. You don't need to use it.
Yeah.
Does your film about two people getting divorced? What does the drone have to do with any of that crap? Nothing. Or you want to do kind of this, you want to try your hand at doing an action film. Like, all right, maybe that's when your drone makes sense. It's motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, using your resources.
Yeah.
I guess we're kind of steering away from the Sundance topic, and I want to ask, like, what other avenues are available to filmmakers and short film enthusiasts to put their work out there?
Yeah, if you're gonna make a short, there's very few modes of distribution for it, which is not new. It's never been, the last time short films showed in movie theaters was like 1940. It's been gone a long time, and have never really been on TV. People won't watch them streaming. So you have basically YouTube and Vimeo, but there's so much stuff on there that you kind of need curation. And that's why their film festivals are pretty great for shorts. In general, if you make a short, you made a type of short no matter what. There's the type of person you are, the type of film you made. There is some sort of festival that's built just for that film. So you made a documentary. There's documentary fests, there's animation only fests, there's festivals that only do shorts. African American, Asian American, Latin American, there's a lot of fest in every city almost, which is a great thing. And so you kind of got to focus like, well, I made this, so this festival wants to show only that type of film. I made a horror film. There's Fantastic Fest. There's Fantasia Montreal. There's Sitges in Spain, So you should aim for those kind of films or those kind of festivals because you'll have a better, again, it all comes back to Vegas. The odds of your film getting in to those kinds of festivals, it's obviously more. Should you try Sundance, Toronto, Berlin, and Cannes? You should probably try Sundance because if you're in America, that's the big fest in America. Why not?
Yeah.
If you have some sort of connection, like if you're here but you're a German citizen or you're shot in Germany, then you should try Berlin for sure. Those kind of things. Cannes does have a student section, so that's like, why not? They have a section that's only for student films. Again, it's still the thing where you made a type of film, so that's what you should go for. And the good thing about these festivals is that, we're looking for films and filmmakers that audiences haven't heard of, and we can help them find an audience. So, it's festivals' jobs for the most part. People will come and see whatever we show for a lot of different reasons, but they'll also go to the Denver Film Festival. They'll also go to the New York Film Festival. There's all these great regional festivals, obviously San Francisco. There's all these places that have their own festival and their own audience. And if you make a good short, you could play in more cities than in film festivals, in more cities than a lot of feature films get in a release play in. You could play in 100 cities. It does take some money because of submission fees. There's got to be a barrier to entry. You have to, this is part of the game. Otherwise, we do get all the films I was talking about where it's just people who aren't taking the art of this seriously. You may make a super funny, stupid comedy that's 3 minutes, but
Right.
you're still doing it in a purposeful way where you want to keep making films and you want to entertain audiences. And that is your version of the art of this. You still kind of like, that's what we're looking for. And you still kind of got to play the game a little bit. Otherwise this thing how would we ever find films?
Yeah.
So you mentioned submission costs and everything. Is there anything that maybe like Sundance does to kind of help out with some of that? Because I know that as a writer myself and submitting my plays to different competitions, sometimes it's like I don't have $100 to spend right now to submit my play to this specific thing. Whereas if I submit it to this smaller thing, it costs me 15. Any sort of program that you know of or that Sundance does that kind of helps promote getting those funds to the artist?
We keep it cheap. It's $40. And the issue with fee waivers for all the festivals, it ends up, and this is a particularly American thing, the submission fees end up making the event happen. And, sponsors come in, but it's not like some crazy cash cow. And that's why you see a lot of sponsor logos on all these places. And so the submission fee is partly to be like, tell us that you're serious about this. And then we keep it cheap. And then, but if you see a really small festival charging a lot of money, then that's a red flag. Like, why should it be $100 to get into a festival that not sure if they use a movie theater? They seem to, they use ballrooms. Like, all right, nothing wrong with that, but there is a give and take. And it's so hard from the website. You kind of just have to guess, pay attention to what films the places are playing, see what kind of press the festival's got. Like, all right, Cannes is expensive, but it's Cannes, and that's how they stop getting, so they don't want 100,000 submissions. And part of the deal is really like, okay, the other thing that Sundance, I can speak for, specifically helps if we don't need a premiere for a short. And most festivals are starting to get that way. So if you're not sure or you don't finish in time, then you can try smaller regional fests that are more affordable, especially if they have student sections. It's usually cheaper, and see how it does. And if like, okay, I got into like 4 of these regional fests, now maybe you can try some of the bigger ones because you have just a little more confidence it played well. Also, you had a chance to sit in the theater and realize like, oh man, it's in focus. Okay, good. You never know, or you hear people laugh when they're supposed to, that sort of stuff.
Learning experience of it all.
Yeah.
Seeing people laugh when they weren't originally supposed to, and you go, actually, that works better.
We just showed the room at the Beverly's, whatever works for people. But, and then it is a trick. You want to look at festivals like that. It gets to be a little bit of a game, but you try to gauge it as best as you can from the outside looking in. Did they show films that went on to other stuff? And that's part of the deal at Sundance. I wish, not just Hollywood, but people who help filmmakers make films, whether it's producing or money or equipment or whatever, I assume that they get barraged with so many people who want their time that they usually don't return your email, they don't return your call, they're just too slammed. Okay. By getting into a place at Sundance, they start returning your emails. And
Yeah.
it's part of the deal, and we don't sit there and say like, if I show this film, then they're going to get a commercial gig. We're showing a film because we think it's good. It's going to play good. Or if it's going to be a difficult film, it's going to be difficult for the right reason. It's going to challenge our audience and not everyone's going to like it, but that's good.
Right.
And this person's talented who made it. The group of people who made it are talented. And then I hope it goes on to something. We share private links with, about 200 different industry members and agencies and managers. And by getting into Sundance or some of these other big regional festivals, you may get to the next step, whether it's, getting a gig. I mean, a lot of people also they were DP on a short and they might get more DP gigs because somebody saw their short.
So it almost
we
acts like a networking event, kind of like getting your name out there to other filmmakers.
Yeah, without being gross about it as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because it is really like, we like these films. It has become this place long before me to be a launching pad for different reasons. And then from there, you can't control what happens. But it also happens, there's plenty of, I didn't show any of Barry Jenkins' shorts and things worked out great. And then he went on a path where, I forget where Moonlight, if it showed at Cannes or TIFF first, but some filmmakers go through other festival paths. I also know, like, even at Cinevegas, we had a ton of short filmmakers come here and meet each other and go off and make stuff. And that stuff really got big. And maybe we played that because they met at a festival and they were at the same, doesn't mean if you're the same age or skill level. It's just you were at the same place in your career.
Yeah.
And you meet at these regional festivals and that like helps springboard stuff,
That's really
so
cool.
it is tough. There's not one path, which is both good and sometimes frustrating.
Yeah. Well, we've got about a few minutes left, so I kind of wanted to end the note off with, we're all young student filmmakers, new filmmakers. We're not all students, those who listen to us. But if you could give one piece of advice to film students or new filmmakers right now, what would it be in terms of like the short film and the festival circuits? What would you give us?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing while you're making the film, just do what's the easiest thing you can do. Like, why make this hard? Like, what is easy? Not just get your friends to act, but who kind of could be in a film and you track them down? What's a story you know inside and out? What can you do with the equipment you have? And sometimes that's bigger, but don't kill yourself to try to impress people. Do what's easy. Keep it short. If your short is over 12 minutes, it better be unbelievably great. And I guarantee you it's not. If your film's 18 minutes, it will be better at 13. And it won't be worse and no one will miss out. And then once you're done with it, like I was saying, like what's a festival you can drive to and have a great experience if they show your short? Submit to a bunch of those. Where do your parents live? And as long as you get along with them and they'll let you stay at their house. What festivals are nearby there? Try a couple of the big ones, but really try to have experiences. What festival shows hundreds of short films? Go for that stuff. And what's important is the experience you have and the people you meet, and don't get too hung up on where or when it is. And the bigger festivals will come down the line. It's it's definitely a slow crawl, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
you.
all for today. Yes, thank you so much for coming out, Mike. We really, really appreciate it.
Sure. Hope it
This
helped.
was wonderful.
No, this was great. This was great.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Everyone go check out the Beverly Theater. Go submit your films to Sundance and to all the other films. Is Cinevegas still around? I meant to ask that before doing my outro.
No, the real estate crash of 2009 took us out too. And then I worked with Las Vegas Film Festival. It's still around. Nothing's happening right now. Just the Beverly.
Okay. Well, that's why we love the Beverly. The Beverly's our favorite. So anyways, thank you again, Mike, for joining us. Thank you, Robby and Lex, as always. You guys are always killing it. Of course, thank you again to the Beverly Theater. And please be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok at the Film Department Pod. That's Film DEPT Pod. We'll see you next time.
Imagined by the Rogers Foundation, the Beverly Theater brings cinematic connectivity, novel collaborations, live happenings, cultural portals, and a zest for independent spirits to downtown Las Vegas. With a mission to stage uncommon cinematic, literary, and live experiences, the Beverly Theater is Las Vegas's first and only independent film house, storytelling arena, and live music venue. Check out our event calendar at thebeverlytheater.com.